Hello and welcome to the fifth episode in season one of the Bookbreakrs podcast. We're currently in negotiations with Netflix around season two, so we'll let you know how that goes. With me, as ever, I've got the Fountains of Reason, Paul and Enda. How are you, lads?
Morning.
How are you doing?
All good.
Fair to middle and at best.
Good stuff. You sound a bit like
Great week.
Yeah, great week. Well, we'll get to that. So the subject of this week's pod is, given Enda's a staunch Liverpool fan and Paul is a staunch United fan, we're going to talk about last week's game. Horrible memory of a game in terms of supporting United, but a 4-2 win for Liverpool. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the fallout of the game. We'll then talk about the app a little bit, the Bookbreakrs app. So for those of you who are new to the pod, so if you're viewer 14 or 15, this goes out to you.
Slowly increasing.
Yeah. So basically, the Bookbreakrs app is football predictions app, and the idea is to enjoy football without losing money. So if you play fantasy football or if you bet on football, if you're betting on football and you're not very successful, then this app might be of interest to you. On it, you can find the top football predictors, you can follow them, get access to their predictions, and you can also play private leagues then with your friends as well, and set up a side pot if you wish. And in doing that, then the funds stay within your friend group. Right, so we'll touch on that later. So let's jump into it. We've got a few questions here. We're just going to get the lads to answer, and let's see how we get on. So the first one is simply thoughts on the game, Enda.
Yeah. Before, the narrative was all United. They've rested their players. They'll be fresh for this one. They've got the better team. The two centre halves are going to be run over. Look at United's attacking power. It'll be 8-0. That didn't happen. United or Liverpool hit a bit of form, and the next minute it's 4-2, and it could have been about 8-2. So great result. It shows two things: Liverpool aren't as bad as all that, and United aren't as good as all that.
Fair one-liner there, I think. Paul, what are your views?
Sorry, Paul, to cut across you there, Alan, again, and to show the folly of having Pogba and then having to play six lads in defence just to have Pogba. And what happens when he does nothing, which is most of the time, and the six lads in defence, two of them are Fred and McSauce. So,
yeah. Paul, do you want to counter that with some reasonableness?
I think he's touched on an important point there as far as that game and a few other games have gone for United this season, and that's this constant need for Solskjaer to accommodate Pogba in the team in any position, really. I think we've seen it a few times this season. It seems to be Mason Greenwood generally has tended to lose out to accommodate Pogba, because he seems to want to play these two holding midfielders, as you said, Fred and McSauce, or McFred as they're becoming known. With Rashford out of position on the right wing, Pogba out of position on the left wing. And it's not really sustainable to keep accommodating Pogba at the expense of other more effective players, I think. He was particularly poor in that game. I'm a Pogba fan to a degree. There's a bit of a weird noise there. Is anyone else hearing that?
Yeah, it's absolutely pelting down here.
Ah, right. Okay.
Yeah, my apologies. Here, I'll mute myself.
In England. So I think the game it didn't go as I thought it would go, but I think Liverpool showed really where they should be at in the Premier League this season as opposed to where they are at. And I think it highlighted some of United's frailties. Harry Maguire, again, I'm not Harry's biggest fan, but something was lacking at the back for United last week. So you can only assume that Harry does actually provide some sort of stability. Overall, very disappointing result. Disappointing, really, because we lost to probably our biggest rivals historically, and secondly because we've let them back into the Champions League race, which we had I think if we had won that game, it would have more or less been the end of Liverpool's challenge for it. But
yeah,
hey-ho.
So you've touched on a few things there, lads. One is around the Pogba situation. So again, for those of you not on regularly listening to the pod, so Paul Sports United, Enda Sports Liverpool, and I'm a United fan as well. But I've been thinking for a while now that Pogba needs to go. If you watch the game the last day, he's just so slow to transition the ball. Every time he gets the ball, 5-6 touches, prancing around the place. He's big and strong, so he's able to do that and hold lads off and take those touches. But as he does, then he just, Liverpool filter back into position. And I just feel like it's time for him to go. What's your view, Paul, as a United fan? Do you think you can build a team around him, or would you get rid of him?
I mean, the issue is he's been there, what, four seasons, maybe 5 seasons now. What is his position? Because I'm still not 100% clear on what it is. If United played with one defensive midfielder, would he then play? Could he then play in the midfield too? I don't know. He's not effective on the left wing. He's very, very poor defensively. He's prone to give away penalties. He's done it on numerous occasions this season. He was very poor for Firmino's header from the free kick in the Liverpool game. He was weak. He somehow ended up on the ground without Firmino applying any pressure to him. I think for the last goal, he put in a very weak tackle. I can't remember who it was on, but whoever released Salah for the last goal. I just don't know what his position is. I think he's a good footballer. I just
you look
can't
back.
pinpoint.
You look back the history of United, right? Some great midfielders, Robson, Keane, Scholes, all these guys. When you think about these guys, and like there wasn't big money spent on these. Even Cantona to an extent, right? Like in terms of the impact he had and the trophies he helped to win. What has Pogba done?
Like, nothing.
Like 90 million.
He scored 1 or 2 worldies, but generally along the way he's been disappointing. But I mean, I was thinking back really to because it was Mourinho who signed him, and I still looking back on it, I can't think where Mourinho wanted to play him in the team. I don't understand.
Mourinho was trying to do like he was always do, trying to buy it. He thought he had. He thought he had.
Yeah.
Yeah, he thought he had a lad who could win a game on his own, and he doesn't. Like a couple of things I'd pick you up on, right? Do you still think Pogba's a good player?
I think he's absolutely talented. He's talented, but talented not enough.
No, there's
here's why.
Like that.
Here's why. I coach a bit of youth football, and there are 4 tenets of coaching any kind of youth team or any team in general is attack, defend, transition to attack. There's the 4 moments of the game they call it: attack, defend, transition to attack, transition to defend. From what you've described there, he's not much good attacking. He's terrible at transition to defend. He's slow, so he's terrible at transition to attack, and he's actually defending his crap. So you're not it's not a. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I think the issue. The big issue around United at the minute is if you look at players who could potentially play in the center midfield. Yeah, you're looking at McTominay, Fred, Pogba, Matic. That's pretty much the selection they have for a central midfield position. And out of those 4, he's far and away the better player. what that's really the crux of it. That's why I don't think United can or will sell him, because they just do not have better options than Pogba. What he needs to work out, Solskjaer, is how and where he plays in that team, because
how to put him into an actual midfield. Because
yeah,
if you look at the games he's playing, you got your back six problem, and then you've got Pogba, and then you have a massive gap between them. So in effect, you have no midfield.
But this is the other problem then, and this is maybe the bigger problem, is that a good coach, a really good coach, will build a team around a player and figure out what that looks like. And you just feel with Solskjaer.
yeah, I agree.
Is
I
he
agree.
just that?
Or figure out, and now he's there 4 years. You, I, and Alan have just described where do we put him, and Gary Neville is still on about where do we put him to Jamie Carragher's derision. Okay, so another thing a good coach goes, right, this lad doesn't fit, sell him. I think with the massive price tag and the whole, oh, Paul is this, Paul is that, Paul is looking around, they pander to him. And to be honest, the way he plays, he's like a lad that they don't touch in training as well. So I don't know.
Yeah.
So in essence, are we looking back at what Mourinho's time there? Where Mourinho clearly had issues with him.
Yeah.
Was Mourinho right? I mean, I'll hold my hands up and say, to this day, despite what happened at Tottenham, I still think United should not have sacked Mourinho.
No way, because if you look at the bounce that he got, right, those 6 games he won, Mourinho would have won them anyway.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? But there were 6 games that would have won anyway.
The thing is as well, like, you have to look back at Ferguson. Like, Ferguson was a shrewd judge, and he knew when to get rid of players as well. And when he got rid of Pogba back in the day, it would have been, because he was so young, it would have been based around his attitude probably. And it's one thing fitting you into a team and doing all that, but you have to have the attitude to want to kind of succeed as well. And I just look at Pogba on the pitch a lot, and he's just sort of, shoulders are up.
I think he has an attitude, but the attitude is, I want to be a star, and that's not what you need on a football pitch. You need to play like a star.
Yeah. Okay.
I think his compadre.
Can we stop talking about? Can we stop talking about the United now and talk about Liverpool?
To be fair, I was just going to say that, because let's not detract from the point that Liverpool did play well.
And obviously we're going to talk more about United because we got humiliated at home.
And also, like, you're always like, how as good as Liverpool were, you're going to talk about how United let them play, which they did.
Now, I think we need to also clarify some of that background noise there. So it is raining outside. And
raining. I turned it off. It stopped now. So hopefully.
No. So, like, haters will say that Enda is in a car. He's not. It's actually his background screen. He's actually in the studio.
The rain noise is for authenticity.
Yeah. We don't worry about the haters, do we?
Yeah.
But we're told 5.
We know 14 people out there love us.
Right. Let's move on then to the second question then. So if neither side bought anybody in the summer, who would finish higher up in the table?
Are we going to talk about Liverpool first? So.
Yeah, you crack on there.
Yeah. Right. So the whole narrative was around the 2 centre halves, and that was the obvious weakness. So, like, you have a back 6 for United who don't play the ball. So you'd imagine long balls over the top to the pace of Cavani, of Rashford, and Greenwood. Well, the first problem is their best player, Greenwood, who I think is a fantastic player, and I think England should be doing a major job basing the team around him attacking wise, wasn't playing. And the second thing is they didn't hit a long ball hardly all night. They waited until the game was over to start hitting long balls. When Greenwood came on and they start putting people into space and pressure and kind of playing the balls, putting the 2 centre halves under pressure, that's when the game kind of opened up for United. And then their defensive frailties came back into it again, and then suddenly it's 4-2. Good night, Irene.
just nobody was up for it. Like
No,
I agree with you.
That's actually the
When
most worrying thing for United, really.
When no one's up for it at home and you have the chance to put your biggest rival out of the Champions League, that's more worrying than any player performance or tactical.
And going back to your point about Solskjaer, he is clueless. Sure, like Paul said during the week there, came out during the game. Yeah, the supporters don't affect us. Came out after the game. Yeah, the supporters affected us. Which is it?
I don't think he's clueless, but I don't think he's ruthless enough. I don't think he has that edge to him. That's what I would say.
I do genuinely think he's clueless. I think he can set up a team at the start, but I don't think he can feel the pulse of a game and say, right, I need to change X, Y, and Z, and that's going to win me the game.
Yeah, I feel like there's
the simple.
Yeah, go on, Paul.
Simple fact of the matter is, and I go back to the Mourinho thing again. Fair enough. If you want to sack Mourinho, that's fair enough. But you replace him with somebody better, not somebody worse. You don't sack a manager to replace him with somebody who is clearly inexperienced and great. He loves United. Does he? Yeah, I'm sure I saw some photos of him as a youngster wearing a Liverpool shirt.
I think that the problem there, Paul, might have been that they did go down that route with Van Gaal and Moyes and Mourinho, and then I think they thought, right, let's start fresh with someone who has a bit of.
I think you're giving the United higher ups way too much.
Let's say that was the plan.
I think they tried to pander to the fans, getting Mourinho saying, right, and you all bought it as well. 3 years, lads, we'll have everything fucking won. That, pardon my French, that didn't work, right? And then it was the fans saying, get Mourinho out. So they said yes. And then it was the fans, and then they brought in Solskjaer as a temporary replacement. And then it was the fans saying, one of our own, Ole at the wheel. And now they're stuck with him. Yeah. So again, you're going back to the United fans. The United fans affected their performance of the game.
No, I don't think it's fans. No, I don't think it's fans. I think it's the common factor here is it's very much
Ed Woodward.
No, the common denominator here is that there's a core bunch of players who've played under most of those managers, and I think that there are a bunch of players who will get you so far, but just not to that next level.
Yeah.
And that is just where it's.
They've spent big on average players. That's what it is, isn't it?
Yeah, they panic bought with Maguire. Pogba is just, he expects it all to happen, but doesn't want to make it happen. And
they bought the player they thought he was.
Is having bad seasons all through the team. If you look at it, it's the spine of the team that's where you have the problems. On the flanks, I think we've got good players.
And up front up front on his own with Greenwood. Yeah. I mean, I think Cavani's going to suffer because he's 34. He'll be good in one game, but he's going to be flat in another game. Yeah, and then Pogba, and then we haven't even touched on Fernandes crying for the whole game.
Yeah. He's.
So like I said when I put him into my team of the year, he's very good at playing against the small teams. On the big nights, he goes missing, and there you go again.
Right, lads, we'll move on to the second question. We've probably touched on a bit of it already anyway, but if neither side bought anybody, who'll finish higher up next season?
Well, injuries permitting, I'd imagine they'll be in and around the same spot, but I'd imagine Liverpool. Because they have a bit of a midfield versus not much of a midfield because Gini Wijnaldum's leaving. Thiago's there. If Thiago and Fabinho play in midfield instead of one lad playing out of his position in midfield and the other lad playing in defence most of the season, like it was all derision, worst champions ever, this, that, and the other. 17 different centre half partnerships. You had one injury the last night and affected your whole team. So to say that the injuries will play a part, but assuming no one buys anything, I'd say Liverpool.
Yeah. So if you get Van Dijk, Gomez,
all things being equal,
Henderson back, you think it's fine. Okay, Paul.
Don't need a new striker. Send Alisson up for the corners. We're in a heck.
I mean, I'd love to disagree, but if you had all players fit in both squads, I mean, I still think Liverpool have the better squad. You'd still have
team,
United
team, Paul, not squad. team,
Well,
not
I
squad.
I would say squad as well. Both really in reality. But United would still have the same central defensive issues. They'd have the same midfield issues. They'd have a striker who is another year older, into his mid-30s. They'll still have Martial masquerading as a footballer. They'll still have Pogba playing out of position. So I mean, overall, if nothing changes,
or in any position.
I mean, I don't believe for a second that nothing will change in the summer, but I think United probably have more work to do. There was something I noticed.
Oh no, Paul, no. I
Over a
think
couple of
they
games.
both have the equal amount of work to do.
But
I mean, you have work to do on your team, but like we have massive work to do in midfield, and we have massive work to do in the squad. All our bench the last day needs to go. The two centre halves the last day. Thanks to the memories, lads. You've been good when you've been called on. They need to go. Do you understand? Yeah. So like I think there's a massive job of work in both teams. Okay. And what's your third question, Alan? I think we'll touch on this really. You said what would you like to happen or what do you see happening? Well, we can touch on it then. But I know what I'd like to see happen, but I know what is going to happen. So we'll see.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, there's a little bit of an argument there that Solskjaer has done a better job of developing some players. Like if you take Shaw, the likes of Greenwood.
I don't know.
There's a potential. I think like United have better younger players. I think that's fair to say, is it? So,
well, potentially better younger players.
In Greenwood, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and then
I like Swansea as well, I have to say.
So we'll jump on to the third question, but before then we'll just have a quick look at the private league that we are playing in the app.
Just a quick look. Now that you're not on the top.
Just a very quick look. So as you can see, on the left was last week, and on the right is this week. It's been an absolute shocker for myself. I was let down badly by a few teams, but there you go, Paul. You've inched ahead another bit, so it's a two-horse race really, given that there's only one round of games left. I'd say almost certainly either one of the two of you has won it. Not trying to jinx you or anything.
I wouldn't necessarily say that. I mean, it really, you've seen how quickly it can change with one result.
It's Paul's to lose. I'm only young manager. I don't know. You just seem to get points out of every game, whereas sometimes I just go pin my hopes on one result.
But this is the whole thing, and then like through the app, because you can track your statistics and everything. The idea is that you see your strengths, you see your weaknesses. If you think you're not good at the boat to score or market, then just stop doing it, or like work on that. And just for those of you watching in, so we've set up a private league. As a private league, you can choose whichever competitions you want. So this is Premier League only. You can choose the start and end date. You can add a pot if you want. So we've all put in 20 quid each, and the winner takes it all. So Paul is on track to do that. And it's a bit of fun. So going back to the point around enjoying football without losing money, this is a good way to have a bit of fun with your friends. We'll jump on. So the big game this week is Chelsea-Leicester again. So if you look at actually the voting or the predictions in the app, it was split right down the middle. So the Bookbreakrs community couldn't split Chelsea or Leicester. So they had Leicester at 2.2 odds, whereas the bookmakers were offering 4.6. So anyone who predicted and saw this, you might have been inclined to put a few quid on Leicester, and you may have made a few bob. How do you think the game will go tonight, lads?
Same as I thought the last game would go. 1-0 or 2-0 Chelsea.
I think Chelsea will win tonight, but again, same as Enda. I thought they'd win on Saturday. So
yeah.
Lump on Leicester then. Yeah.
Cool. Like Tuchel kind of done the pep on it. He overthanked himself. Like he swapped. If you notice, he swapped all their attacking play going down the right was Reece James, and so he overthought himself and said, right, well, Vardy has pace, so I'll put Reece James part of my back three and put Azpilicueta on the wing. Azpilicueta did nothing the whole game, and Reece James' attacking instincts were curbed, and that really cost him.
Yeah.
I have to say, of all the debates there's been over VAR this season, I didn't see any reason for there to be a debate over Chelsea's equaliser, or the one that was ruled out. But yes, there seems to still be a debate going on about it. I mean, that for me is the one that the sort of one that VAR should be picking up, and that not drawing lines on the pitch, but that we're talking about millimeters. Chilwell was clearly offside and rightly given offside. So how that is even debate? I think the whole VAR debate is just people feel the need to have it now.
Yeah, but is that just because it's a bigger team and more people shouting about it?
Maybe so. But I mean, let's be honest, VAR got that one right, clearly right. So Chelsea were poor. They were poor. I think Werner, I don't know what Chelsea are going to do in the summer to rectify that problem, but he was in his defence, he's got pace and he gets himself into positions, but he just can't finish. I don't know what the hell is the problem there.
He was, like, if you take out last season, which was an outlier, if you were looking at it, it goes back to a big team like Chelsea with a load of money trying to throw money at it, right? If you look back at his seasons, like, his seasons were decent-ish before last season. Last season, he had a good season, 30-odd goals. So basically, he got himself into positions and he scored. Before that, no. Liverpool looked at him, they refused him for the money. And, like, but if you look at him, he's more a Liverpool player than he is a Chelsea player. Chelsea wanted an out-and-out goal scorer. You look at him, you put him on the left or the right of that front three in Liverpool, it wouldn't really matter if he didn't score because he'd be making chances.
Yeah. Right, lads, we need to move on. We've only a few minutes left, so we'll cover off this last question fairly quickly. But it's basically, if you had one wish for your club for next season, what would it be? What would you do? We'll go with you, Paul.
Change of manager.
Oh, he's gone for it.
Yeah. Change of manager. Yeah. Listen, as a human being, I like Solskjaer. He's.
Are you?
No. As I was referring to him as the human being as opposed to myself. He seems like a nice guy, and I do believe he wants it to work there. I think everyone wants it to work for him, but I don't see that it will. So I mean, you could spend 250 million in the summer, you still have the same manager, and he ain't the man for me that's going to push for titles.
Cool. And
spend money. Actually spend money. This thing, like, there's a whole pile of stuff to go out, but the whole notion that we have to spell a pile of players before we can buy a pile of players is just abandon Moneyball for one season. It's the Moneyball thing that gets me. Yes, Moneyball got us Salah, and he improved, but we had to actually spend money, as in go and buy Alisson. You have to spend to buy quality. Like, we had to actually spend money, go and buy Alisson, go and buy Van Dijk. They won us the league, won us the Champions League. So, like, yes, Moneyball for the squad players maybe, but we need to invest. We didn't invest. Liverpool didn't invest. They didn't spend money, and they lost the league. They'd lost the league. Yeah. 2 injuries and they lost the league.
And when you do win the league, like down the years, teams, usually have to add 1 or 2 just to keep it fresh
just to keep it fresh and keep people
on
their toes.
That don't retain the title. I mean, it's irrelevant as far as I'm concerned, because I really don't see United or Liverpool being in a title race next season anyway. It's almost certainly going to be City who win it again, unless Chelsea spend another 200 million in the summer.
Yeah.
Now, rumor has it Sean Dyche is getting 50-60 million, and he could,
he'll get 10 players for that, and he'll still keep them.
Donate his brain to science, is it?
Okay.
So that would equate to like about 10 million per ounce. Because his brain's about that fucking size.
I'm intentionally bringing up Burnley so that jinxes them into a result.
I guarantee you one thing, that they won't be as bad defensively against Liverpool as they were against Leeds the other day, because that, I don't know what happened there. That was not a Sean Dyche defensive performance.
All right, lads, we're at the top of the I was going to say hour, but it's the top of the 40 minutes free on Zoom. Cheers, Zoom. Thanks again for your time, Paul and Enda, the fountains of reason. And yeah, have a good week, everyone, and we'll chat to you next week.
On Burnley.
Peace.